Trump said Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's termination can't come fast enough. Do you think Powell will last until the end of his term next May? Now, the president is absolutely not allowed to fire the head of the Federal Reserve, right?
And not unless he just commits, massive malfeasance. And, Jay Powell has said, you can't fire me and I'm not going to leave. So this is a classic example of why we do want parts of our government to be independent from political influence, particularly the parts of our government that are going to have a big impact on the long-term strength of our economy. So,
what's up, freedom freaks and fiscal hawks? Today, we're diving headfirst into a fiery clash of titans, Douglas Murray versus Bill Maher. And trust me, this isn't just another wonky economics debate. No. This is a full-blown ideological smackdown over one of the most important questions in modern democracy: who really gets to call the shots when the economy's on the line? On one side, we've got Douglas Murray, philosopher-warrior and defender of institutional order, making the case for why the Federal Reserve needs to stay far away from the grubby little fingers of partisan politics. On the other side, Bill Maher, the king of comedic contrarianism, asking if independence just means unaccountable elites making decisions no one voted for. The spark? Donald Trump's not-so-subtle shots at Jerome Powell, the man steering the US economy, and the MAGA rumor mill wondering whether Trump could or should just boot him off the throne. Legally? Probably not. Politically? That's where the chaos begins. So buckle up. Because this isn't just about one man, one job, or one central bank. This is about whether democracy means electing your future, or just watching it get managed behind a curtain. Let's get into it. Murray versus Maher. Who gets to control the money machine when the stakes couldn't be higher?
Trump said Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's termination can't come fast enough. Do you think Powell will last until the end of his term next May? Now, the president is absolutely not allowed to fire the head of the Federal Reserve, right?
And not unless he just commits, massive malfeasance. And, Jay Powell has said, you can't fire me and I'm not going to leave. So this is a classic example of why we do want parts of our government to be independent from political influence, particularly the parts of our government that are going to have a big impact on the long-term strength of our economy. So,
I give it to December. You can make a person uncomfortable, and Donald Trump right now is on a making people uncomfortable spree. He's trying to light fires everywhere, and it'll be difficult for Powell to stay in this job.
Also, we're at war. We're at war with Venezuelan gangs.
Yes,
so when you're at war, you can do anything, right? Wasn't that the argument they'll make? I mean, they'll just make it up. This is what happens when you lose all your power.
There's one way he'll get fired immediately, which is if he's bad on TV.
He doesn't go on TV.
If somebody should send him on. He'll be bad. The president will hate it. He's gone.
Okay.
Douglas Murray and Bill Maher went head-to-head over the future of economic governance in America, and more specifically, the role of the Federal Reserve in the face of Trumpian populism. Murray, standing firm as the voice of institutional conservatism, warned against the dangers of politicizing the Fed, framing Donald Trump's recent threats to fire Chairman Jerome Powell as a reckless assault on the very foundations of economic stability. For Murray, the central bank must remain insulated from political theatrics, a bulwark of reason amid the madness of electoral cycles. But Maher, true to form, wasn't buying it. He challenged the sanctity of an unelected elite, pulling the strings of the economy with zero democratic accountability, calling out the hypocrisy of pretending these independent technocrats haven't fumbled crises themselves. In Maher's view, if the people can vote for the president, why shouldn't the president have influence over the most powerful economic institution in the country? What unfolded was more than just a debate over monetary policy. It was a referendum on whether we still believe in expert-led governance, or if populism's wrecking ball is coming for the last fortress of the so-called grown-ups in the room.
I'm glad I was born, as old as I am, at a time when everything wasn't completely polluted. I think that's why I'm still alive today. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And, I mean...
But, Bill, the air is less polluted, the water is less polluted. As countries get richer, they pollute less. When they're industrializing, they pollute more. There might be individual environmental toxins, yes, but as a broad description of the status of OECD countries, we are polluting on net less.
It depends on where you live, first of all.
That's right.
Out here in California, I believe I'm breathing in the fire still. The fire burned a lot of this city, and a lot of this city had plastic in their home. And we were already getting, they say, a credit card's worth of plastic in our body on a weekly basis. So I don't know what you're talking about, like it's better than it used to be.
I'm talking about I can see the mountains from Long Beach, which I couldn't growing up. I mean, we pass rules, we do cleaner tech over time, and all rich countries do this. It is a process. It's a whole theory of the case called the Kuznets curve. It's a thing. It's worth reflecting on and respecting too.
Okay. Well, you may be sanguine about that. Maybe that's a libertarian in you. But this is what I worry about more than anything, is the plastic in my head. Because someday it's just going to...
I worry about it too.
You should. You should. After Trump...
All right, so let's talk trash, literally. In this segment, the panel dives into one of the most under-discussed but absolutely terrifying issues of our time, plastic pollution and the future of environmental health. Matt Welch, repping the libertarian corner, brings out the old reliable Kuznets curve, the idea that as countries get richer, they eventually clean up their act. Chill out, the market will fix it. But Bill Maher, ever the skeptic with a punchline, isn't exactly buying that sunny forecast. He goes full dark comedy, joking about microplastics creeping into our brains and turning us into walking credit cards. And honestly, it hits because it's not far from the truth. And then there's California, still choking on wildfire smoke while getting lectured about cleaner air. The divide is clear. Welch sees progress, Maher sees poison. One frames it as an economic life cycle, the other as slow-motion collapse with better marketing. What we're really watching here is a bigger question play out. Are we evolving past pollution, or just evolving new ways to ignore it while it kills us softly in the background?
What is the legacy of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, which was 250 years ago today? The fact that no under 40 knows what the fuck I'm talking about. That's the legacy of that.
Maybe 60.
Yeah, right.
Maybe 60.
Well, maybe the legacy is that we decided we didn't want a king, and oh, what the fuck, here we have one.
Right. There you go. What does the panel think of RFK Jr. announcing he will find the cause of autism by September of this year?
I think that's when OJ finds the real killer. I think it's...
Well, he's dead, so that's not going to happen. Well, I would say, this is why people think he's a quack, because you're not going to put a date on something they've been looking into for 30 years.
That's right.
And say, we're going to have it by September. It's not going to be, oh, it's the gummy bears.
But that might be something. That might be something you say if you think you already know the answer to the question you're asking and you're going to deliver the answer in September,
he
right?
Did speak on, what I read in the paper is he did speak on it this week. And I did not agree with the point of view of the article I was reading, which was that he's completely crazy because he was saying it's not mostly genetic, it's mostly environmental toxins. I happen to believe that's probably a more likely answer. And they were saying, well, no, genetics, and of course genetics is involved in everything health-wise. But to present the argument I saw framed in that way, that he's a kook because he thinks it's coming. I mean, environmental toxins is really the story of my lifetime.
So let's talk about the moment. RFK Jr. basically lit the internet on fire, and not in a good way. The guy goes out and says he's going to find the cause of autism by September. Yeah, September tart tune. That's not a medical goal. That's a campaign stunt wrapped in a conspiracy theory. The panel roasted him hard. Bill Maher even compared it to OJ, saying he'll find the real killer, which brutal, but fair. But here's where it gets interesting. Once the laughter dies down, some panelists actually defend his core message. Not the date, not the grandstanding, but the idea that environmental toxins might be playing a bigger role in our health crisis than anyone wants to admit. And honestly, That hits different. We're living in a world where we're basically marinating in plastics, pollutants, and unpronounceable chemicals, and we're shocked that chronic illnesses are skyrocketing. Whether RFK Jr. is right or wrong, this whole exchange pulled back the curtain on a deeper fight: scientific curiosity versus establishment narrative control. It's not about being anti-science, it's about asking the questions big pharma and big media would rather you didn't. Thanks for tuning in, fan. If you made it this far, you're clearly not afraid of the tough conversations. Whether you're riding with Murray, vibing with Maher, or just here for the chaos, we've got more fire coming your way every week. So do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a political throwdown that actually makes you think. Stay sharp, stay loud, and I'll catch you in the next one.